On August 20th, 2025, China was struck once again by severe flooding. Rivers overflowed their banks, sweeping through villages and leaving entire districts paralyzed. In Sichuan province, the disaster carved deep scars across both rural communities and major cities, as local authorities and rescue teams worked tirelessly to safeguard lives and property.
Oh, God!
In many counties across Sichuan, days of relentless downpours sent river levels surging, breaching flood defenses and forcing thousands from their homes. Roads disappeared beneath fast-moving water, cars were left stranded, and low-rise houses were swallowed halfway by the flood. Rescue forces were deployed at full capacity. Inflatable boats, rescue rafts, and helicopters worked around the clock to evacuate residents trapped in danger zones. One man, evacuated with his family, recalled, "We had only minutes to escape. The water came so quickly that we grabbed what we could and ran." Neighbors did not abandon one another. They held on, helping each other through the ordeal. Schools, gymnasiums, and government offices were converted into temporary shelters. Thousands of families found refuge there, receiving blankets, food, and medical care. Hot meals, bottled water, and clean clothing arrived from volunteers and local businesses. In such hardship, these small acts of solidarity helped ease the fear of being left alone in disaster. Sichuan, known for its fertile farmland of rice and vegetables, saw vast fields submerged. Farmers now face the loss of entire harvests, a blow not only to their families but also to the region's food supply. Livestock, too, was swept away or rushed to higher ground in desperate attempts to save them. Infrastructure has taken a heavy toll. Mountain roads collapsed under landslides, isolating villages. Rail services were suspended, bridges were damaged, and large-scale blackouts left communities in darkness. Communication networks faltered, complicating rescue operations even further. Doctors warned of health risks from contaminated water. Mobile clinics were set up in shelters to provide clean drinking water, vaccinations, and emergency treatment. Residents were urged not to wade through stagnant water to avoid infection and skin disease. Beyond physical damage, the emotional strain was evident. Families who lost homes faced deep uncertainty, while children suffered trauma from sudden evacuations. Psychologists were dispatched to help people cope with shock and anxiety. The Sichuan government mobilized additional military units, heavy machinery, and aircraft. Bulldozers cleared mudslides, engineers reinforced riverbanks, and helicopters dropped supplies into villages cut off by floodwaters. Emergency financial aid packages were being prepared to help families rebuild once the waters receded. Experts emphasized that with Sichuan's complex geography of mountains and river basins, the province is especially vulnerable to flash floods and landslides. Climate change, they warned, is making extreme rainfall more frequent, underscoring the urgent need for stronger defenses, smarter urban planning, and more reliable early warning systems. Amid the devastation, moving scenes of humanity emerged. Firefighters carried children on their backs through waist-deep water. Villagers linked arms to guide the elderly to safety. Community kitchens lit fires, serving hundreds of hot meals each day. This spirit of solidarity became the strongest pillar of resilience, carrying entire communities forward. As the floodwaters slowly receded, the scale of destruction came into view. Homes shattered, farmland buried in mud, and roads broken apart. The road back to normal life will be long and difficult, yet in the eyes of Sichuan's people shines determination. They speak not only of loss, but of the will to stand again, to rebuild from the ruins, supported by their communities and by the nation. This disaster is a stark reminder. Nature can be merciless, but the strength of human spirit, of unity and compassion, remains the fire that helps us endure even the harshest storms. In a world rushing towards a green future, China is not just leading, but racing forward like an out-of-control machine. Electric vehicles, once hailed as symbols of the clean energy era, are now exploding on highways, at seaports, and even in the shattered trust of millions of consumers. What was once seen as isolated incidents now reflects a chain reaction of catastrophic failures. From blazing ships in the Pacific Ocean to EVs erupting in flames in downtown streets, China has exported more than just electric cars. They are now pushing chemical bombs disguised in glossy shells and green tech slogans to the world. It's no longer a question of safety standards. This is a national-level technological experiment where 1.4 billion people are involuntarily serving as guinea pigs in a power struggle between the government, corporations, and the ambition of electrification. When fires rage, when the flames from lithium batteries burst in uncontrollable fury, one must wonder whether the entire world is inside another Morning Mios incident, where all it takes is a spark for everything to turn to dust. Let's dive into today's story. A world where not just the numbers of explosions are counted by the day, but where each drop of sweat, each life, and each dream of a green future is being consumed by technology that's not ready yet, but is being forced to dominate. In the early morning hours of June 2025, in the cold waters of the North Pacific, an unusual red dot appeared on NOAA's maritime warning system. Just minutes later, satellites spotted dense black smoke rising from one of the world's largest car carriers leaving China, the Morning Mios. A 183-meter-long ship from Jack Maritime caught fire in the cargo hold, where nearly 800 newly produced electric cars were stored, setting off a chain reaction that would send shockwaves through the global transport and electric vehicle industries. The Morning Mios had departed from Yantai Port in Shandong Province on January 26, 2025, carrying over 3,000 cars, mostly from Chinese domestic brands like Rus Wotos, BID, and Lap Motor. Its destination was the port of Lázaro Cárdenas in Mexico, scheduled to arrive by June 15th to distribute the cars before the summer peak season. However, instead of arriving in the Americas, the ship became the epicenter of a new transport safety crisis when hundreds of lithium-ion batteries began a chain reaction, setting the entire cargo hold ablaze like an underground furnace. The U.S. Coast Guard later confirmed that the fire started in the electric vehicle cargo hold, which experts have labeled as a potential bomb without adequate insulation systems. Despite the automatic fire suppression systems being activated, the heat generated by the lithium batteries was so intense that it overwhelmed the efforts to control the fire. To make matters worse, the ship was also carrying over 1,800 tons of fuel, including diesel and VLSFO, turning the morning Mios into a literal floating bomb. Fearing the fire would spread to the engine room and living quarters, the entire 22-member crew was forced to send an emergency distress signal and abandon the ship. They were rescued, but over 800 electric vehicles were completely destroyed, along with dozens of cargo containers. According to estimates by Anderson Economic Group, AEG, the fire caused damages exceeding $559 million across the supply chain, enough to make marine insurance companies reconsider their risk evaluations for green transport. The most notable aspect of the fire was that the entire shipment of cars came from China, with many of the vehicle's brands like BYD, Chery, Sia, and Loop Motor still undetermined. This disaster didn't just shake the shipping industry, it raised a critical warning about the safety of lithium batteries, especially when transported in vessels not designed to handle thermal runaway reactions. According to experts from the International Maritime Safety Organization, IMSO, these batteries, if subjected to shock, overheating, or charging failures, can enter a state called thermal runaway, meaning one fire can trigger an entire group of batteries to explode, and no amount of water or air can stop it. Worse still, lithium batteries can reignite even hours after being put out, with temperatures reaching thousands of degrees at the core of the reaction, turning container ships into floating death traps. Morning Maos was only the tip of the iceberg. In 2022, the Felicity Ace, a Mitsui SKL ship from Japan, was also consumed by fire in the Atlantic Ocean with over 4,000 gasoline cars, including electric models from Porsche, Audi, and Lamborghini. The cause was suspected to be a lithium battery fire, though official conclusions have been kept under wraps. Just a few weeks before the Morning Maos incident, another fire occurred at the J. Brook port in Belgium on the Gyn ship, where over 100 electric vehicles caught fire, forcing a high-level safety alert. The issue isn't whether electric vehicles will catch fire, but when. A single electric vehicle fire requires over 30,000 liters of water or air to isolate the fire, but most commercial ships are not equipped to handle such a scenario. In May 2025 alone, the port in Shanghai saw over 120,000 vehicles unloaded, a record number. Over 90 international ships arrived in just 1 month, mostly carrying electric vehicles or electric vehicle parts, signaling the rapid expansion of the electric vehicle transportation network, especially under China's Belt and Road Initiative. However, the speed of export is far outpacing the safety standards. With unverified batteries, inadequate thermal management systems, and outdated transportation standards, every shipment leaving port could potentially be a mobile bomb suspended in global trade routes. After the Morning Maos fire was reported, social media in China exploded with backlash, with many labeling electric vehicles as mobile ticking time bombs. Horror stories of electric vehicles catching fire have been shared widely, especially one incident on May 29, 2025, where a Xiaomi MSU7 car collided with a guardrail on a highway in Anhui province and caught fire. Initial reports on social media revealed that the flames spread too quickly, and the doors were locked, leaving the 3 victims trapped inside. Following the Xiaomi SU7 accident, state media had to intervene, warning car manufacturers against overly advertising their self-driving capabilities while reassuring consumers that EV models had passed safety inspections. Yet, trust in EV safety has been shattered. This surge in incidents has sparked serious debates about the reliability of modern electric vehicles in China, with the primary concern being the lithium-ion battery. the heart of every electric vehicle and the most volatile component. The chemical structure of lithium-ion batteries is highly vulnerable to impact, high temperatures, improper charging, or simply degradation over time. If the battery exceeds its tolerance level, it enters thermal runaway, meaning the heat from one section will trigger the rest, causing the entire battery pack to explode like a chain of fireworks. In this scenario, no amount of water, air, or cooling systems can extinguish the fire. As a result, many consumers are questioning whether it is worth risking their lives for a cheap, mass-produced electric vehicle. This situation is compounded by the fact that China is now the largest producer of electric vehicles globally, carrying the greatest burden of risk. As reported by Chinese media, 2025 saw at least 112 electric vehicle fires in just the first 4 months of the year, averaging more than one vehicle fire per day. The underlying issue is not just about the number of incidents, but the deepening concern over safety in an industry racing to expand without adequate testing and verification. Despite aggressive marketing, it's becoming increasingly clear that many electric vehicles are not yet ready for the mass market, with flaws in the technology and safety systems that could cost lives. In a market driven by government subsidies, low prices, and the promise of green innovation, the growing number of accidents is a wake-up call for the industry and the consumers. The reckless speed of EV adoption without proper safety protocols has turned consumers into involuntary guinea pigs in a technological experiment. As the EV industry continues to grow, the question is no longer whether electric vehicles are safe, but how many more lives will be sacrificed to corporate greed and technological negligence.
The disasters are real, sudden, and devastating. From earthquakes to floods and wildfires, staying informed can save lives. Subscribe now to follow breaking updates, real disaster footage. Let's raise the awareness and take action for a safer future. Don't wait until it's too late. Be aware, be ready, and be safe.